guests here with us and you to be here with them. So thank you for being here. And I turn it over now to...
I'll take back over. So first, just to get started, I want to give a great thank you to the 5 panelists for taking time of your day to come talk to us. So let's give them a warm welcome and round of applause. I want to next thank Professor Lack. Without her, this would not be possible. So let's give her a round of applause. And last but not certainly least, let's give a round of applause to our president, Lewis Williams.
I just want to thank everybody for being here today. Of course, it's a big deal whenever we have professionals on campus and we get a chance to ask questions and pick their brains about what we want to do. Because I know a lot of us don't know what we want to do, and we're figuring it out. That's why we're in college. But I just wanted to start out by saying that everybody's going to have a chance to ask a question, and I'm sure they're open to answer anything you have to say. But for now, I just want our panelists to introduce themselves, their roles, and the company they work for. So we'll start from left to right. And then we'll go to our person that's first rule, last but not least. So let's start with
Sure, absolutely. So I'm Emily Vanis, and I actually work here at IU Northwest. I've been at IU Northwest for 12 years. I've loved every day of it. I am in the marketing communications office. And hi, Allison. Allison is one of our students who works in our office. I just kind of caught eyes with her right now. I focus primarily these days on public relations and communications. I work closely with the Chancellor's office, including Chancellor Wellman very closely. Over my time here, I have done just about every role within marketing communications except graphic design. I leave that to the professionals. But I think it's a good thing to kind of keep in mind that you may think you're going into one profession within the communications realm, but your path most definitely will take you other places, which is a great thing with this focus area. You can easily go into advertising, marketing, communications, internal communications, public relations, and so you never stop learning. So I think that's probably why I'm driven to be on a university, because that is the very core mission of a university. So I'm Emily. I just want to say too real quick, before this I did work for 5 years in a public relations agency in Chicago, Helen Knowlton. They're an internationally known agency with locations all around the world. I worked in the Chicago office for 5 years, and then I did move out this direction and started working here. So I have worked with your agency.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Puente. I'm a reporter with WBEZ Radio in Chicago. I just celebrated my 17th year there at the station. Chicago's NPR station, but I've been in journalism for about 30 years now. I started off in 1992 as a freelancer, what they call a stringer, correspondent, various publications. Actually, my first printed byline was a paper that was called the South County Economist on the south side of Chicago, the south suburbs. It's now called Southtown. Moved on to the Times of Northwest Indiana, but at the time they did a lot of Illinois coverage. So I covered a lot of the south suburbs, Cal City, Lansing. Then I moved over to the Post Tribune of Northwest Indiana, where I was there for about 11 years, staff for 8 years, covering, everything, pretty much. Courts, federal courts, criminal courts, environment, politics, you name it. At the time, I got a chance to interview a up-and-coming writer in public relations, Chelsea Whittington.
Was that Chelsea Whittington?
I don't think so. I forgot back then. And I went up to the Daily Herald for a couple of years, which covered the Northwest suburbs. And got a call from WBEZ. I used to be on their station for a little bit, just talking. And they said, hey, would you be interested in being our bureau chief for our new Northwest Indiana bureau? And so that was 17 years ago. Our first bureau was in Chesterton. We moved to Crown Point, and now we're just sort of roaming free without bureaus anymore. And I cover parts of Chicago, parts of Northwest Indiana, and every once in a while you can catch me on WTTW places. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. So my name is Megan Clarkson. I recently graduated here, at, when COVID started, so my last year was online. But it was a really fun, I feel like after COVID, it gave me a lot of opportunities because, I think I'll mention this later. Like when you're young and you're in your early 20s, you can mess up and do everything. Like, I'm not saying you can mess up all the time, but you have that ability while you're in college to figure out who you are and what you want to do in your life, and that'll change as you get older. So for me, I'm gonna be 27 now. Oh my god. I know, I'm still young, I still am, but I graduated, I was 22, 23 years old, and now I'm 27 looking back, and I've done a lot with marketing, PR. I kind of crafted my skills in every sector in marketing, public relations, and communication, and that led me to my goal, which I'm still working on. I've created my own marketing agency here in Northwest Indiana. So I have many experiences with corporate, nonprofit, agency, which is my favorite, and I've done some international work as well, which is one of my favorite things I like to do. So I would consider myself not a jack of all trades because I'm not proficient in exactly everything, but I've took the time out of my own day to learn skills like graphic design. I'm even keeping up on tracking KPIs, learning Google Analytics. And in PRSSA, you learn, I'm sure they tell you, you're a forever student. And so that's me right now. I'm a forever student, I'm still learning. I've been getting clients since I was in college. So when you put yourself out there, you get opportunities, and all I say is the worst they can tell you is no. So, so that's me. I'm Megan, and I run a full-service marketing agency, and I like French words, so it's called Fervent Communications.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chelsea Whittington. To Chancellor, to Dean, to my fellow professors, and my colleagues here on this panel, good afternoon. I want to thank SSA for inviting me. When it came through, I was just elated because I know, like Megan says, that learning never stops. And anytime I have the opportunity to come share any type of expertise or experiences, if I am available, I will do it. I will say that in your 50s, you can still mess up and find out new pathways and things that you can do that perfect your craft. I have been in public relations for about 30 years. I have worked in the both nonprofit, for-profit, educational sectors, and I have been an adjunct instructor here at Indiana University Northwest for 23 years. And I love public relations. I originally thought I was going to be Oprah. I got my first degree in broadcast journalism from Howard University, and I was ready to hit the scene, and she was not ready to retire. So I said, okay, let me get a master's. So I got my master's degree in organizational communications. She was still in her chair, and I said, okay, let me see if I can just work a few other places. I worked for the Peace Corps. I worked for Congressman Charles Rangel out of New York. I worked for many organizations, the Gary Community School Corporation, Chicago Urban League, Trump Casinos, Empress Casino, Horseshoe Casinos, and I felt like after all of those different roles that I've held, the time finally came, only 3 years ago, to step out on my own and start my own public relations firm. The name of my firm is C-WIT, short for Chelsea Whittington. Our tagline is what?
Who you with?
Who you with? C-WIT PR. We have a portfolio of approximately 50 clients that we service everything from social media content development to crisis communications, which I hate, no crisis, general media relations, grassroots, And we have developed a nice niche in Northwest Indiana and Chicagoland where we pride ourselves on having PR in your pocket. Sometimes we know smaller businesses don't have big budgets, but they need a little boost, and we are here to help them with that. And one of my favorite clients is Indiana University Northwest. I look forward to sharing today. I'd also like to acknowledge my assistant, Amber McKinstry, who is here with us today. She has one of her degrees in public relations, is working on a second degree. She came into my life when she shadowed me as when I was director of communications for the city of Gary for her spring break in high school, and I just can't get rid of her. It's been 10 years she's been shadowing me, but PR is our thing, and I hope that you all are here to learn more about what we do and possibly explore careers in this amazing area of study. And I got a text as I was walking in from one of my other team members for me to do some recruiting because we need help. So thank you for having me today.
So now we need to introduce our virtual guests.
All right, I appreciate you guys having me today. Apologies that I can't be there, but thank you so much for making the accommodations and allowing me to join virtually. That was a great one to follow up because I also thought that I was going to be on ESPN by now. Started my career in broadcast journalism and was like, okay, Friday I graduate, Monday I should be hosting SportsCenter. You know, we got the game plan down. Did not pan out that way. Shockingly, I know, but you know, along the way, I figured out so much. So again, started my career in journalism, broadcast, worked at Newsy.com, which is now Scripps News, as a broadcast journalist host. Then moved on to Fox Sports Midwest in St. Louis for about 5 years, and now I am a senior video producer with Fleischman Hillard in Chicago, where I work on our Army recruiting account, which is an absolute blast. I get to visit so many different areas around the United States, talk to people from so many different backgrounds. You know, to me, this is way better than anything that I could imagine. I just love everything about this job and kind of how I've fallen into it. So I like the theme we've created early on here with like, you can make mistakes early on. You know, I don't think starting my career in broadcast journalism was a mistake by any point, but I do think that it was something where it's like, okay, you know, maybe I like this, and where I'm at now in the PR side of things and being able to be a storyteller, wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, let's keep the positivity going. The first question is, what is your favorite thing about your job?
How do you want to say it?
Same way.
Same order.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. I'll be first. I think mine, working here, is the students, and it's the mission. Students here, you guys are dynamic. You want to learn. You want to be here. You want to do more with your life. You see your vision, and I love that particular mission here at the university. That we're here really to help transform students and their lives. And so telling those stories, allowing you to share those stories and giving me the honor to tell them to others, to inspire others, whether that's students who are considering going to IU Northwest or it's an alum story, highlighting the great work that they're doing after graduation, is kind of what keeps me and holds me here. I often say, and I often thought, you know, the strategies and the approaches, the tactics for public relations of what you do kind of cross many focus areas. You know, if I were working at Ford, let's say, I would still have the very important needs of doing media monitoring, of reaching out to reporters, of, you know, all those tasks are the same. What's different is the client or the individual group that you're representing. And I learned early on in my career that my heart was really to do PR for good. Meaning I wanted to work at an organization that bettered things, bettered people, bettered opportunities, to really advance society. And so that's kind of how I found myself at IU Northwest. A quick side note, and then I know I can't like dominate the whole conversation, but I learned that because after I graduated college, I I worked in public relations at a PR agency in London for 6 months. I did fashion and beauty PR, and as glamorous as you think it was, it was. It was awesome. I will tell you, it was a lot of fun. I was young. I was living in this, world-renowned city, working with people trying to get you to buy the latest dress or watch. I came home with bunches of clothes every night, and it was just really cool. But what I realized at the end of the day is that I spent 8 hours that day, and then the 10 other people in that office spent 8 hours that day. So collectively, we're spending, 80 to 100 hours per day pushing something or working for something that I didn't necessarily felt propelled society. And so it was from that point, I loved my job. It was a lot of fun, but I realized I'm going to use those skill sets for something that I feel is more in line with my own values. And so that's when I kind of, several different jobs in between, but that's what keeps me here at IU Northwest, is I feel like the work that I'm doing is meeting those core values. So it's a little bit about me and probably a whole lot more than what you asked for.
I forgot to mention one of my best things. I was listing everything I've done, but something just happened to me this spring is that I started teaching here at Indiana University Northwest. So that's been a huge accomplishment for me, and I just love it so far. I will say the best and worst thing about my job as being a general assignment reporter. How many here like homework? Well, when you're a reporter, it's like having homework every day for the rest of your life. I mean, every day when you wake up, you're not sure what's going to hit you. And you've got to become sort of an expert in about a couple of hours, or a semi-expert in it. It could be everything from some new environmental thing that's happening, a politician. You are really thrusted into something to become an expert in. There are times I'm called on to be a guest host of our daily show called The Reset on WBEZ, a 2-hour program, and that's where there's a variety of things on there. They're talking about politics. Sometimes I have to do the weekly news roundup, where I'm interviewing 3 or 4 other reporters in the Chicago area about different things. Now, honestly, I have producers helping me cultivate some of the information and feeding me things. But you still got to do your own work. You still got to do information. You still got to do research. So it's everything. The best thing is you learn something new every day, but that's also it keeps you on your, keeps you. You just got to make sure you're alert. So that's the best thing.
And tagging on to what Mike was saying, working in PR, marketing, communication, anything in the communication realm, it is a lot of learning. And like I said, you could go, I think I spoke to some of these students before the panel. Sometimes you don't know what you would like to do in your future, but as for myself, what I like about being in communication, marketing, PR, is that you can have a passion, and that's why I called my agency Fervent. It's in French, it means passion, or in Spanish, it's ferviente or fervent. So for me, I would say always follow your passion, even though people, like even my family, they're like, you're studying communication, what is that? Like, they probably still don't even know what I do. So I just, with that, I say being fervent and passionate in what you do is going to enhance you as a person, and that's what I like about the communication, because you can talk to so many people on different realms of life. I ended up working with an Italian winery, a small Italian wine vineyard in Lombard, and it's in Milan. And I was doing this while I was in college, so I liked it because I surrounded myself with the people that I wanted to be around. I wanted to do more international work. So I was at a Pure SSA panel one day, and I saw this, some random Italian guy talking about business consulting. So I said, I need to be around that guy because I want to work in the international stuff. So The thing I like about working in communication, marketing, PR is that you can do everything. Everything is limitless if you put your mind to it. And you can do the things that you're passionate about. It is a lot of work, like Mike was saying, like you have to study. Like I worked with a law firm, and I didn't know anything about law. I didn't go to law school, so I have to do my homework and learn the terms, learn what it takes, like learn what it is to be in their shoes. That way you can present them in a way that's in their brand. So that's one of the things I like about it. And then one other thing I'd like to speak about is, I may not look like it, but I gave birth 4 months ago. Yeah, so, thank you. Yeah, so I'm on my second child, and it's hard. Like I was working in corporate, and honestly, I have to say it's rough. Like if you're a mother, it's really rough for moms because they're expected to play all, I would say many hats. So what I like being in PR and communication is that it can be flexible. If you work in an agency, or if you create your own marketing agency, which she could probably tell you about that too. It's very flexible, especially if you have very young kids. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-month-old. So I learned that it's really tough. And when I was in college, I thought, I could do it all. I can have the family, I can work the job. But it's really like once you hit life, it gets to you. Like you have to have a really strong mentality or very tough skin to get, to wear all those different hats. And that's what PR and marketing, journalism, you're wearing like a lot of different hats. You're trying to understand people, and I feel like if you enjoy understanding people and like to learn people and like to share stories, communication will be the best area for all of you.
Mr. President, do we have to say just one?
Say as much as you want.
All right, so I'm gonna start with the one that nobody else wants to say, but public relations can be a very lucrative profession. If you are passionate, as my colleague said, and willing to do the work, you can definitely create a niche for you that can be very profitable and can sustain you and your family. But you do have to get into it and stick with it to get to that point. I certainly applaud you for coming out the gate, starting the business versus being in the field in the industry a longer period of time. I conversely was in the field almost 25, 30 years before I decided to start my own agency. But the thing I really, really love outside of the money is the fact that I get to tell the stories that I want to tell. I often tell my team that all money isn't good money and every story is not meant to be told by us. And so as we do complimentary consultations with our clients, we find out what their goals are, what their end game is, and what that looks like in relationship to our brand. There are some brands that you do not want to be associated with. You can project and see where they're headed, or some things that they have done or have not done that may not necessarily bode well with what you are pushing. And so I love the fact that we get to pick and choose. But most important, I love to be able to promote my beautiful city of Gary, Indiana. The majority of my clients are based here, and I have a lot of friends and family and networks outside of the region, and I can't tell you how many times I get messages like, you make me want to move to Gary. You make me want to go to Jay's Breakfast Club. You make me want to study at IUN, and all I can say is, come on, because we're going to continue to tell those good stories, and that's what PR allows you to do if you approach it in that vein. So I will say to those of you who are looking to study or work in that field, to follow your heart, and if you are working on a project that doesn't feel right here, back out of that. Because your conscience is the first thing. You have to live with what you are promoting, what you stand for, and there is no amount of money that can be paid to me to represent something that I don't believe in.
Does our virtual guest have anything for us?
Yes. Oh, I've got plenty. Don't you worry. No, I think for me, it's the people. It's being able to tell stories about the most interesting things and get those out in front of just massive audiences. You know, I think there's people in this industry who love telling stories about products or telling stories about an event, whatever it might be. And for me, I think I gravitated towards people so much. That's why I kind of started in the journalism realm. And, you know, I kind of, to bring it back to that last point, being able to tell the stories that I want to, you know, kind of pick and choose and say, you know, wow, this is really incredible and more people need to know about this. I think it just honestly makes every day waking up so much more fun because, you know, if you meet a new person on the street, you might just originally walk past them, but then when you start to talk to them, you go, oh, you know, I had no idea you were, you know, a 3-time gold medalist diver or whatever it might be. So, you know, I think just having that opportunity to talk to people and get their stories out in the open and just bring them to a forefront and just highlight how special each and every person is. I mean, that's without a doubt probably my favorite part to this, easily.
Well, next question. Everybody doesn't have to answer this question. What is the best advice you can give to a student right now? We can start.
My best advice is to get an internship, hands down. You need that experience. There are so many people who are hiring. You need to kind of stand out and kind of step up and go beyond what others might be doing. Not only it gives you something really good to put on your resume, but you learn. And then when you're in those interviews, you have an opportunity to explain what you've learned. And by already there, you'll be a step ahead of someone. I always have said, if you ever want to work in a PR agency, to start out with, which a lot of people kind of want to start in that realm, and there's a great place to start out because you learn so many different various areas by having so many different clients. You need to start at an intern first. I have met very little people who have started out at an agency, you know, kind of an entry-level position that did not start out as an intern. I was an intern. I was an intern at Hill and Knowlton. After I graduated, or after I came back from back to the United States from England, I thought, oh, I'm gonna get a job now. You know, like I did my internships. I've had all these internships. No, I had to start at the bottom. And you know, I had graduated college, you know, just 6 months prior. So you know, I didn't necessarily feel I had enough experience to start at a different level. But I started as an intern there, and I, you know, depending on their client load and their budgets, they can sometimes, you know, promote you, I guess, or hire you as a full-time. But I would say start as an intern, get intern experience. And I'll add 2 tips to this. I was actually in a meeting yesterday, just on this campus, about a particular office here who needs interns, who needs social media interns, someone who can help tell the fun, great stories that are happening here on this campus. And I heard that they're having a hard time finding someone, and I thought, that is kind of crazy to me. We have so many great students, and you all have phones in your pockets, and you all probably are going to, you know, open Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram today. There are opportunities here on this campus, and if you're interested, tell me. I can help connect you. It's not necessarily in our department, but I can put you in touch with the right people. But the other thing is you know, if you have a passion, go to that individual department or organization and ask them if you can help for free. I mean, I know that we all need, you know, to work and get money, of course, but if you have a strong interest in animals, go to a humane society and say, you know what, I'm happy to kind of help out in some particular way. Not many people will pass up free help, and you will be able to build your resume, and you never know what those relationships and how you will be connected with them. You may just land your first job, kind of like she did, by just simply talking to, you know, someone who came to an event. So get an internship, and I can help you.
Let's see, a couple of things here. I think I just mentioned this in my class the other day. I tell young people, and it doesn't matter what profession you're going into, public relations or whatever, don't have a dream job. You know, take that terminology out of your mind. That doesn't mean you don't have a job, you don't want a career that you want to get into. Why is it a dream job? I think when we use that term, we put that job on a pedestal. And we don't really make a path or have a plan to get to that job. It's a career that you wanna be in, so get there. Do whatever you can to just get to that dream job. And knowing that once you get there, your ambition may change. You may not want to be there anymore. As you go along in your life, after you graduate, you get a few jobs, have a few setbacks, that thing may change. You may talk to people, or you may be there for a couple of years and say, yeah, this really isn't for me. Allow yourself to change. I will say, now if we're just talking about getting into media, it's very, I think it's difficult, but it's also, there are opportunities out there to get your name out. I think, I kind of wish I had these kind of opportunities when I was younger. Social media, you could do blogs now, you could do videos, you could be what they call an influencer now. You can do the job now. You may not get paid for it, but somebody out there is going to notice you. You gotta work hard, you gotta show up, you gotta be on time. You gotta know there are people out there who don't want you to be there. You're competing against the world, you're competing against young people, you're competing against old geezers like me who still have something to prove. That term, what's that term out there that people say, the haters? You need the haters. Haters should be your best friend. Because how many of us can't wait to have people bestow attitudes on you? Oh, you're the best, you're wonderful, don't worry about that. No, you need people to say, you can't make it. You shouldn't be here. You don't belong here. For whatever reason. You're too short, you're too chubby, you're too Mexican, you're too black, you're too woman, you're whatever. There are the haters out there. You don't know how to write, you're too slow in your deadlines, yeah, all that. But still, for me, I've had a 30-year career in media, and I'm not done yet. So, hey, just work hard, show up, knowing that, okay, call it a dream job, whatever, make a plan, get there.
And I would say a couple of things too, like, as me being a recent graduate, I would say, as what they're saying, start now. Reach out to your local businesses. That's like the best place to start. I got one of my first clients for my marketing agency when I was a waitress at a small brunch place. I ended up talking to some lawyer and his family. They would come in all the time, and I said, hey, and this is what you can do while you're working at the job you have now. Like, hey, I'm a communication major. I know how to do, like I said, I know how to build websites. I know how to do advertising, branding, and this guy needed a whole bunch of branding, and his website didn't even exist. So there's a lot of opportunity for you guys to get that experience. You just have to put yourself out there. And then going off of what Mike was saying is, like, you have to have a plan. And what I did to create my plan is I had to sit down with myself, and I have to really dig, like, you have to really take a hard look at yourself and say, hey, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? You have to write down, I wrote a whole blog about it, honestly, but yeah, you have to sit down and really look at yourself in the mirror and say, who do I want to be in the next 5 years? And you write down your strengths, your weaknesses, what makes you happy, what does not make you happy. And then you have to write, like, you can wish all you want, but you have to write those action steps down. Like, I write it down. I do it monthly where it's like, am I aligning myself with my goals? So I have to really sit down and, like, sometimes it hurts my feelings. Because sometimes I'm not doing the things that, sometimes you won't do the things that you want to do, but that's why you have to sit down and, like Mike was saying, make a plan, set a goal, and make sure you check in with yourself weekly, monthly, however much comfortable you feel. And writing it down is just gonna help you, along the way. So if, for example, if you want to get more, experience, you can write down, I like to work with a nonprofit, with 3 nonprofits in the next year and a half. So you can write that down, and then you have to actively work towards those goals, because like I said, you can wish all you want, but your wishes won't come true if you don't follow those goals that you've written down.
All of my fellow panelists have given some great ideas and tips that I totally agree with. I wanted to acknowledge Emily. Emily and I have worked together in a variety of spaces over the years, and she is an amazing communicator. Same with Mike. I've been following his career and reading your many pieces over the years. Super impressed. Looking forward to following your work as well, and my virtual colleague. And I will just start off with the truth. If you cannot write, walk away from public relations. Literally. Walk away. For the simple fact that you will spend your career writing, because it is one of the main ways that you are using your power of persuasion. You cannot express yourself. If you don't like people, if you don't want to be social, walk away. Because the profession says public relations, relating to your publics. Now, there are roles where I'm just the social media and I'm in the back and you don't know it's me, but that's still writing, right? And I envy you so for having social media out the gate. Picture me, 1995 at the Lake Area United Way, 23 years old, director of communications, trying to tell Mike and all the other media people that we are setting a goal to raise $6 million to help the community. And I'm standing at the fax machine for 30 minutes, pushing my press release through. You remember those days, Chancellor? And then when it didn't go through, we did like, you didn't get it? And then you had to go back and zzz again. Are you coming? And they're like, no. And you spent all this time, like, well, I'll have to write that post release. But those were me, that was me cutting my teeth in the industry, and it has changed, and we have made that pivot. One of the reasons I was running behind is because I ran back to my car to get my new business card. I went to get another microphone stand because I wanted to make sure Amber had everything she needed for us to go live. And so my tip to you is to build your brand right now. You have so many opportunities to tell your own story. Get your headshots done now, not after you get the job and they announce you. Go get your headshots so that when we look you up online, make me think you're already in the industry. I'm like, oh, okay, you've done some things. Those internships count. They really do. And you can add them to your resume as experience, because that's what we are looking for in the industry. And last but not least, my tip for you is to have fun. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it, okay? There will be some tough times, but overall, at the end of the day, you want to go home and say, today was a good day. I helped sell out a room. I helped tell a story. I helped change a life. Those are my tips.
What is our virtual test have today?
Yes. So I don't know if this is advice or just a 3-step process that I think works very well, but step 1, practice, practice, practice. Try to master your craft as much as possible. Second one, which is very important, get punched in the face. And then repeat that process. That's the third one. Because I love the quote of everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, and it's so true. Because you can think, all right, I've mastered this craft, I am the best in my field, the client's gonna love this, whatever it might be.
No.
And it just doesn't end up being the case. It's sometimes you're gonna have something where it just was in your blinders and you didn't see it, or maybe the client, you misunderstood the client, whatever it might be. But you learn so much from those opportunities that kind of figuring out, like, okay, you get punched in the face and you stumble back and you go, okay, where do we go next? We're all striving for A's in class, but you get that one test back and you get a C and you're like, oh man, if you just pack it in for the semester and you go, okay, the next one's a D and the next one's an F, you just kind of go into the ground there, trying to you get that C back and you go, I'm not just going to ace this next test, I'm going to get 110% on it. So being able to take that into the career life, you're just going to learn so much. You're gonna be able to grow as a person, you're gonna be able to grow your clientele portfolio, everything. So just being able to pick yourself back up throughout those hard times and push forward, can't preach to it enough.
I forgot something, Mr. President. Shameless plug, I do a PR TikTok tip of the week. So if you follow me on TikTok, you can get all my tips. See what PR.
Well, I've turned over to the crowd. If they have any questions, I just want you to state your name, if you're a student, where stat out, and what your major is. Anybody have any questions?
My name is Seren Schwartz. I am a communication student. I'm a junior this year. And I am wondering, as a student, whenever I say I'm a communication student to, my peer groups who aren't communication students, to my family members who don't really respect communications, it's always, good luck finding a job. I want to know if the respect issue of our degree program as students changes in the profession and how the transition is.
That's a good one. I can help you with that. Just because I experienced it a couple years ago. Honestly, so my siblings, they're going to school to be an eye doctor, and my sister's going to be, I don't know, like hygienist, a dental hygienist. So then I'm the one who's like, yeah, I'm going to, I went to school for pre-med here. I was originally going to school to be a dentist, and I changed my major. And my parents are like, why would you do that? You're not going to be making money, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, cool, I don't care. Like, I honestly, it was kind of like a struggle because my parents didn't really see the value in communication just because people don't really know about it. And like, on TV, they see PR as something that's really not, like, they see it in a bad light. They think PR is like lying and covering up for somebody. When in act, like, you're a pure SSA, you learn that you have to have ethics to be in this field. So one thing that really surprised them is I ended up getting a scholarship that paid for half of my college. I got a 4-year scholarship here. It was the Mills, it was like a Mills Scholarship Award. Yeah, so I got that and they were like, what? And I said, yeah, I mean, like, I changed my major and I was nominated by a previous professor that used to work here. And that was because I was really, like, when you really get into your program, I was always the one in class raising my hand. I'm sure Patrick can attest to you. I was always the one who was talking. I was always the one answering questions, asking questions. So, I mean, it's tough and it sucks. Like, it sucks right now. But, I'm not saying you have to prove yourself to anybody, but your work in itself, like whether you get scholarships or whether you get that job, that's really cool. Like for me, I worked with an Italian winery. My family was still like, oh, they just thought it was like a play job. And I was like, no, I'm like actually getting wine companies to sell their product over here in the US. So like, sometimes it doesn't seem like a big thing, but I would say gas your own self up. Mm-hmm. Like, just like how Mike was saying, you're gonna have haters. Mm-hmm. So you might as well just take that and use it as fuel. And I used it as fuel and I got scholarships. I was involved with PRSSA. And I've worked 7 years now in the industry since college. And now I can proudly say like, hey, this is what I'm working on, a marketing agency. I mean, people think that's pretty far-fetched, I would say, with me being so young, but if you're determined enough and you really like what you're doing, I feel like discouraging words shouldn't matter in the end. It hurts right now, it stings, but that sting will go away. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
I wanted to address that. In the beginning, I think you have a better chance at dispelling those myths now versus back in the day when I started in the field. We just talked about you building your own brand, right? And so when they look you up, they can get a better understanding of what you do based on what you say. So you may say, yes, I'm in communications, but you may also say, I'm a brand builder. And they'll say, oh, okay. Well, what does that entail? That means I take your brand to the next level. That means I make your brand sing out loud. I help you get seen. So sometimes we have to explain what we do, but in a creative way, and build your network. I have found that people know what I do based on me constantly telling them. We know in public relations, we have to tell somebody something 10 times before they hear it the first time. You have to do that for yourself as well. You'll be fine.
Yeah, you want to be known as the marketing girl.
Yes.
Like, that's the PR girl.
Yes, in the elevator on my way up, they were like, you're that PR chick. I am.
Yeah, I should have noted that haters could be your own family members and friends. Because they see you a certain way. And they wanna, I mean, but again, you gotta, I know it can hurt at the time. I had a brother, my older brother, who I love immensely, but, when I was, a correspondent or a freelancer, well, I started on and I was a freelancer for 3 years. And a good way to hurt me, we would get into arguments with him. He goes, well, you're not even on staff anywhere, And then I got on staff. And, it was always something, I would say, you're probably gonna disagree with it. I consider a good friend who we grew up in the journalism business together. He went into public relations, and even though he was a supporter of mine, once I started hitting 40, 45, he knew in the back of my mind I had a dream of going to television one day. And he goes, well, you're too old now, so just forget about it. And so when I was like 50, TTW came. And so, sometimes those haters are going to be people who are close.
Who wasn't Mike?
But there are going to be those. So it may hurt at the time, but again, you have to use that as motivation. You got to believe in yourself. That's what they're telling you. That I may not believe in you. You have to believe in yourself, and nothing's going to happen overnight. Sometimes when it happens overnight, it can be overnight that in a flash. So just be your own promoter and believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to.
Yeah, gas yourself up.
Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Serena Schreiber. I'm in my 5th and final year of communications. I graduate in May.
Congratulations.
And my question is just kind of a particular question that anybody can answer. I'm currently in an online web writing class, and for a project I've chosen to reach out to Lake County Humane Society to ask to do a revision of their website, as it is lacking life and liberty and justice, because it's missing information. It just needs like a revamp. And my question is this something that I could put on my portfolio or like in a resume or something as some type of like experience? I don't know, experience is the right word for that, but yeah.
I would say absolutely, and I would take it to the next step. First, letting them know if they have accepted your proposal, that you're moving forward with it, but also get video and written testimonials from your clients that say that you did this for us, and allow them to be your mouthpiece as well to give you recommendations. So I would say absolutely, build that portfolio.
Okay. Kylie?
Yes. My name is Kylie Cooper, and I'm the communications major here at IUN. I have over a decade of professional work experience, but almost none of it is in communications. For some reason, I keep getting jobs that are in a different direction. So, like, at this point, what do you recommend to kind of pivot my work experience or my career? Like I said, I've been doing this for a really long time, but almost every single bit of it is this direction. Like, how would I pivot?
What was your previous work experience?
I usually work in the financial field, so either at credit unions or banks, stuff like that.
Doing what?
At a credit union, I work the phones, and so I would tell people their balances.
Communication.
At JP Morgan, I was communicating with clients through the email system that they had set up, so I would give them their balances and things like that, through there. And then I would, when I was working at Northern Trust, I worked internally and I helped set up I helped implement a program that would help other bankers communicate with their high-profile clients.
Work in banking, they have a marketing team. I worked with Suntier, the corporate in Maryville. I mean, that wasn't really for me. I never really worked in banking before because it could be like, you know, it takes a certain person, but hey, maybe you could like reach back out to those shops and be like, hey, we have new marketing. I know Chase is always hiring. They have like a Chicago branch. And even Suntier Bank, like maybe if you want to stick to that area, and then you could find something like, you know, if your passions change, like as you get older, if you want to change into the field, you still have that marketing background in finance and banking.
I would say most importantly, stick to your basics, the things that you do well. If you communicate well, if you write well, if you give presentations well, those are all skills that you probably applied in those other professions. So those are opportunities to tell those stories in the context of marketing and communications. And you're getting a communications degree, so soon you'll have that built in your resume too. That will make it that much more of a connection as to why you would be moving from, say, finance to communications. But I would say that you would be surprised the number of people who just can't communicate clearly. And everyone in this world needs communications clearly. That's probably why we have jobs. We have to help tell a story in a way that people want to hear it. But being able to do that is a totally different skill that not everyone has. So tap into those skills that you have and apply them when you're interviewing or you're writing your cover letter. They may not be 100% translatable, but they are transferable.
Thank you.
And remember at the end of the day too, that you are, you know, in control of your own career journey.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be the first job that you're offered. If it's not the position you want, you say, thanks so much, appreciate the offer. This isn't what I'm looking for, and kind of keep looking. So, you know, at the end of the day, if it's, you know, something that just doesn't interest you, feel free to turn down an offer if it's not where you see your next step.
Thank you.
I would also add that we could circle back to the conversation about internships. You can still continue to do those. There are plenty of nonprofits here in the community with volunteer committees for Alzheimer's Association. Maybe volunteer and help on the communications committee for their upcoming walks. Those things count, and you can parlay, but we'll talk after.
Any other questions? Tina Bertuzzi.
I'm Danielle. I'm about to graduate in May. I had questions about interview. Like, what would be some important things you guys would say in an interview about yourselves? I know you guys said to like make yourself bigger than what you are, which I love that. But anything else that you'd recommend?
Well, definitely do the research for whatever the firm is. Find some cool facts, comb the website, but go beyond that. Find out what type of press and media has been printed or not about the organization with whom you are interviewing. Sometimes they've experienced a big win. They just got the best ever award for this, or they just overcame a crisis and they may mention it in the interview and you're not aware of it. So I think that's a very important step as far as knowing the company and knowing some key people there, and just kind of course, Googling and finding out. And then look and dress the part and make yourself searchable. A lot of times they're going to look you up. So Google yourself. What are they going to find about you? So that if it's something you need to clean up, delete, or push up higher, then do that now as you're getting ready to graduate. I know some students who have their own personal website, like this is me, and here are links to my work, papers that I've worked on, projects that I've worked on, and I think that broaches a great conversation for you in your interviews. And good luck.
Thank you. I would just add, whenever we do a lot of interviews for different positions. In fact, we just finished quite a few in the marketing department. A question I have always asked everyone, and it stumps everyone, and it's so telling in terms of how well prepared they are. I always say, do you have any more questions for me? I get that saw, you know, the Instagram post that we had. I want them to tell me that we don't have residential houses, you know, on this campus. I wanna know that they cared, they took time to know who we are. And, it's very telling in terms of how serious and how well prepared someone is. Because if they haven't done that, if they haven't studied me, I'm not sure I want to take the time to learn anymore. So I would do that, absolutely. And then I always, I learned this in college and I've always stuck with it. I've not interviewed in a while because I'm very happy with where I'm at here. But I always remember the STAR method, and I don't know if that's anything that's taught here, but when you are doing an interview, think of the acronym STAR. Someone asks you a question, you respond it with S, the situation, T, the task, A, the action, and R, the results. And so if you could tell your story in 4 sentences or, you know, a quick soundbite with the STAR method, you will get to the root of really what the person's trying to know is what was your role and how well did it perform.
Can I also add, Career Services here, right here on campus, offers mock interviews for free. So if you have an interview coming up, or if you are just looking for a job, make an appointment with them, sit down, and they will put you in a mock interview situation and give you an opportunity to practice, and they'll give you feedback to help you improve. So take advantage of the resources available on campus to you.
That's why we love IU.
And I think one thing I wanted to add too, I actually learned this tip on TikTok. So it'll be kind of fun. I saw this one interview tip, and he basically has a YouTube basically telling everything about interviews. So I mean, you could look that up too. You can look up YouTube and look up like job interview tips. But one of the ones I thought that was cool that stood out was, because the interviewer is always going to ask about you, but he said, turn that question back to them. Say how you can help them. So instead of telling them like a crisis that you've worked on, you can ask them, hey, I've seen that, you know, that you've been working through XYZ crisis, or you're having issues with this. This is how I would do it. And then they would be more intrigued and be like, okay, well, tell me more. And it's just like, kind of like, you're not hiring me first, but you kind of turn it on to them to say like, hey, I know that this is happening, and you can use the STAR method. This is situation. This is how I would help your organization do that. And then you do your end strategy. And I'm sure that will lead them to ask more questions.
Don't forget to send the thank you.
Yes.
That's the thing. The
It
email
is a thing. It is very much a thing. And I'm even old school. I like the handwritten
The
one.
handwritten one?
I'm not joking.
Yes,
I
me too.
mean, it leaves an impression on me. So handwritten.
Like after your interview?
So find out, sometimes there are several people in the room, and I would say, well, I haven't interviewed in a long time, but I would say, can I get the contact information for everyone? Sometimes it's a panel situation and you can't remember everybody in the room. Get those email addresses, cards, have your card, even if it's one that you made up, that's just your calling card, if you will, so that they can get in touch with you if need be, get their information. And I already have mine queued up. And then when I come out, I plug it in, and they get it before the day is out. I'm like, she is on her game.
Yeah.
I want this job.
Yeah, just to put a bow on all of this advice too, you know, if you do all this, all your work, all your research, you got experience, don't forget to be excited. You know, bring that energy, bring that passion. There's so much that can be communicated when you're like, oh yeah, you know, my favorite project was this, and this, especially in the PR field, because there's so many different fields. And, you know, being excited and bringing energy to an interview can completely flip it.
Okay, we have time for one more question, so John, go ahead.
Hi, my name's John Mastang, I'm a communications major here. Ms. Chelsea, you already kind of discussed social media and like the benefits, you know, we don't have to use a fax machine anymore. However, my question for the panel is, some of you have decades plus experience in your field. How difficult has the transition been from what you were used to the more growing digital world today?
everybody needs an Amber. I have millennials on my team, so they make me sound like I know what I'm talking about, and they make my TikTok sprinkle or whatever it needs to do. But learning never stops, and so anyone who is in any field, you need to study your field. You need to subscribe to publications that talk about your field. You need to network, join and stay in organizations like this to stay abreast of trends. So it hasn't been hard for me. It's actually been a savior. I don't ever want to see a fax machine again. I don't have to. It's easier, and you're able to communicate with more people on a broader scope in real time. But here's the thing, consistency will be key. Don't start a page and post and go all out those first 3 weeks, and then I go back to your brand and it's like Christmas. Like, you still haven't posted. So the commitment has to be there, but when you are consistent with it, it's a great tool, and I have not found any difficulty because I surround myself with people who know those types of things, and then I learn from them and I practice.
Yeah, don't necessarily be too proud. Know that you may fall, but you're trying to learn. And hire people when you're in an opportunity to hire people, or surround yourself with people who know what they're doing. A great example, we, in the marketing department, social media is extremely important to our campus. And don't hold it against anyone, or don't hold it against me, but like until recently, it was just kind of there, for the university. And I know that, but we were kind of in a hiring crunch. We needed new people to join our team. And we recently hired some great people. They know more about social media than I do. Why? Because they're 10 years younger than me. They're way more native, and I'm okay with that. I have them teach me, so don't be too proud. Surround yourself with good people who know things, who will help make you better, not see it as like a competitor. Have an open eye.
Oh, and with social media, this is something I ran into really recently. I had a crisis that I had to work out, so honestly, this client that I work with, they didn't really align with my mission and values. So they bought a business out that makes aggregate, so it's construction material. They're getting sued by the city of New York, or the town, or the state of New York, because they're putting pollutants in the air. And for me, like I've told the marketing director, I said, hey, we need to use social media to tell our story, to say, hey, and I think they weren't telling me a lot that they should have, because I said, hey, why don't we get scientists out on the field? Like, why don't we get them here at the site, test to see if they're polluting the air? And they refused. They said, no, we're not going to do that. And I said, okay. I said, so what are we supposed to do then? I said, because we have to tell our story on social media, but that starts with helping your community. Like, you don't want, it's like, I think with Whiting, with the DP, they had same issues, but for this one, it was just like, I was just like, oh no, I don't know if I want to work with this client anymore, because they're causing pollution in the air and they don't care. And with social media, someone ended up hacking, like, so they stole, I told the marketing director, we need to make a social media for this company that you bought out, because somebody's going to try to replicate you. Because back when Elon Musk let people buy verifications, they bought a verification and they said they were us. And so we couldn't get in touch with anybody. This was like a couple months ago, but like it was hard. So like with social media now, like I know back then it was hard, but it's still hard now, because there's identity theft. There's people that can ruin your reputation in a snap of a finger. So yeah, so social media, you have to be on it, and that's what I would say with any future client that you work with. It's just like, if they don't have a social media, you should be like, you need to get one now, so you can prevent fraud, identity theft, so that you can share your story. And I even told the main company, like, hey, we need to make a handle for the business, because if not, somebody's going to steal it, and you're going to be SLL powerful tool, and it could lead to harm. So, you just have to be careful what you do and navigate social media in an ethical way.
That goes for your personal life too.
Yes. Yep.
Virtual guess that's something to say,
Matt, did you want to say something?
Oh, apologies, sorry. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna build off that, and I think fit me out of this question because, you know, I think when I started in the broadcast journalism field, it was, you know, me in the middle of a field, you know, hey, you know, this is happening, there's a whole 5 o'clock news, all this stuff. You know, I think social media has changed the game so much because presenting a story in that area where it's like, okay, 5 o'clock, this happens, and the teas, then the anchors. Now it's like if you have more than 2 seconds of an intro to a video, someone just scrolls right past. So that was a big skill that I had to learn where it's just like, all right, we're gonna put the coolest stuff right in the front 2 seconds. Because there's just so much else out there that people can scroll onto and find different ways and, you know, different brands, whatever it is. You know, I think to be able to apply the skill sets now and further into your career, it's just be cognizant of your surroundings. You know, if you scroll into a video that you like, why did you like it? What made you stop? What made you go, oh, this is interesting? I'm a big fan of kind of Duolingo on TikTok, how just unhinged that brand is, and it works. Like, it works so well for them because it makes you stop and go, okay, you know, what is this? And then they just kind of double down on it, and that's kind of their brand now. It's just like, okay, this owl's watching you if you're not doing your homework or whatever. So, you know, I think just being aware of your surroundings is super important.
Well, I just want to thank all our panelists for being here. We ran out of time, sadly, but of course they might be able to talk a little bit afterwards. I want to thank everybody for coming, of course. I want to thank the Chancellor for being here too. That's a great big deal. This was a great event. Hopefully we have more of these in the future, and it's great to always have professionals here to answer all of our questions. So thank you very much.
Yeah, keep going to these events, keep going, because you never know who you're running